As we continue our journey through the Roman kingdom, we take a look at the fourth king of Rome, Ancus Marcius, who reigned from 642 BC to 617 BC. His father, who also went by the name Marcius, was said to have been good friends with Numa Pompilius, the second Roman king. And so we can see how the Marcius bloodline was closely involved in the politics of the Roman kingdom at the time, through Pompilius's rule and likely through Tullus Hostilius's rule as well, which came to an end after supposedly being struck by lightning by the gods for his disrespect and blasphemy. Other sources indicate that Ancus Marcius was actually the grandson of Numa Pompilius, which would have greater solidified his claim to the throne. In the wake of Tullus Hostilius's death, an interrex was appointed by the Roman Senate, which was a sort of ruler between kings who served on a temporary basis as regent until a new king could be appointed. An assembly would be held, and it would be Ancus Marcius who was decided upon to rule Rome. Given his links to Numa Pompilius, it would indicate that Rome had grown weary of the bloody battles given to them by Tullus Hostilius, and that they longed more for a time of peace. Historian Livy tells us that the first act of Marcius was to order the high priest, the Pontifex Maximus, and the chief clergyman to write down clear instructions of religious ceremonies, of which were derived from Numa Pompilius's commentaries, and that these would be displayed in public so that the ways of the gods could not be neglected as they had been done in Hostilius's rule. As some of you may remember, Numa Pompilius served as something of a divine conduit between the gods and the people, and many believe that he was able to commune with them, thus his unparalleled wisdom. During his time of rule, there were no wars between Rome and any other region, and it's arguably the only time that Rome knew true peace in this era. It comes as no surprise then that Ancus Marcius would wish to immortalize Pompilius's words and make them public knowledge, for he did not wish for Rome to war with neighbouring regions in the way that Tullus Hostilius had done, and did not want to incur the wrath of the gods for shunning them, as Hostilius was known for. Furthermore, Marcius also wished to have ceremonial instructions clearly stated, so as to ensure that they were being performed properly. As noted with Tullus Hostilius in the last video, Hostilius, who had grown sick, performed a ritual to the gods incorrectly after hastily reading through Pompilius's notes, that of which he had formerly shunned. As a result, he was said to have been blasted by lightning sent from the gods. Ancus Marcius' quest for peace would not be a simple one, however. Rome would be taken advantage of by the neighbouring Latins, who saw the country as weakened and unable to defend themselves, given the fact that Ancus Marcius had decided against war. However, their assumption that Marcius would remain docile as the Latins invaded could not have been more wrong. In fact, it was he who declared war first on the Latin people, when the Latins initially began making incursions onto Roman territory. It should be noted though, that Ancus Marcius was not quick to engage the Latins in an attack of revenge, like Tullus Hostilius might have. Instead, he approached diplomatically and asked the Latins to pay for their damages committed against their lands. When the Latins refused to do this, Ancus Marcius marched its army and took the Latin town of Politorium. The population of Politorium was absorbed into Roman society, furthermore bolstering their numbers after similar invasions against the Sabines and the Albans by previous kings Tullus Hostilius and Romulus. Politorium would then be demolished by Ancus Marcius, and several neighbouring Latin villages were also sacked by the army, a message to the Latins not to test Ancus Marcius, for though he pursued peace, he would not be shy in dishing out vengeance. The war did continue, however, in the Latin town of Medulia, where a strong garrison had been constructed. While it was successful in repelling the Romans eventually, it would surrender to the Roman onslaught after several engagements outside the fortifications, which saw the Latins losing skirmish after skirmish. Marcius would return to Rome far wealthier, having pillaged and looted many of the Latin towns. Even more Latin citizens were absorbed into the Roman society, and were settled in by Palatine Hill, the centremost region. Perhaps one of the most famous acts was the incorporation of the Janiculum into the city, the second tallest hill in western Rome. By obtaining the hill, Ancus Marcius was able to fortify it by connecting it with the city by use of a wooden bridge across the river Tiber. He also constructed a ditch on one side of the city to help with reinforcement, and even established the first prison in Roman society, known as the Mamertine prison. Another famous act saw Ancus Marcius establish Ostia, Rome's port on the Mediterranean Sea, which would allow for naval exploits and sailing expeditions. Not only would Rome be a military force to be reckoned with on land, but now the waters would also fold under their dominion and allow them to access the rest of the world, where none were safe from future ambitious leaders. In the 24th year of his reign, it would appear that Ancus Marcius died of natural causes at 60 years of age. The throne would pass over to Lucius Tarquinius Priscus, who, funnily enough, would end up assassinated by the sons of Ancus Marcius. But we'll be talking about him in the next few videos. Until then guys, if you've enjoyed today's video, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. Until the next time guys.